Oh, God. Hello?
Hey, have you given me the finale for season 2 yet?
Uh, yeah. Yeah, I was actually just about to send that to you. 1 second here. Okay. And sent. Yes, sir. Yeah, just sent it right over to you.
Wait a minute. Isn't this a storyline from season 1?
Oh, what? No, of course not.
Alright, sounds good. We'll get to work on it right away.
Whew. Dodged a bullet there. What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is What If Season 2, Episode 7. What if Hela found the 10 rings? Probably the best episode so far this season, if I'm being honest. First of all, I think the pacing is probably the best that it's been so far. Didn't feel like there were a lot of scenes that were sped up or slowed down unnecessarily. It felt like it moved along at a natural progression. And I think as well, the story is a clever idea. I like this idea of Hela kind of going through what Thor did. And Hela's not a character that I really expected to be rooting for at any point, but they did a good job of kind of showing the sympathetic side of her, showing why we should feel a little bad for her, because a lot of what she did was because Odin made her that way. He forced her to be this executioner, and he kind of kept her under control since she was very young. So I thought it was a very clever setup. I think as well, having her go through Thor's journey from the first Thor movie, it did kind of parallel itself pretty well. So the story definitely got me interested right away. The other thing that really got me into it almost instantly is the voice acting in this episode so much better than it's been so far this season. I don't know why. Everybody sounded like they were much more engaged in this episode. I mean, Kate Blanchett, she sounded like Hela, she sounded like herself from the movie, and she sounded invested. The guy that got to replace Anthony Hopkins here did a pretty solid imitation of him, and I thought brought his A game as well. I know for a fact that this was not Wenwu, the same actor that played him in Shang-Chi. I don't know if the woman that plays Jai Yi, I don't know if they got a new actress here for her as well, but both of them I thought did their parts very well. So all around, it felt like there was a lot of emotion behind these lines. It didn't feel like they were delivered without any inflection. It was very much a good, well-delivered episode. It's a breath of fresh air from what this season has been so far. The lack of emotion, the lack of care that's been put into a lot of the storytelling, in my opinion, the lack of pacing that's been involved. This was so much better in all aspects of it. Even the fight scene at the end felt very energized. It felt focused. It felt like they did a good job of utilizing everybody's abilities, keeping it focused on these three characters. So, yes, you did have your big war scenes. When you got down to that final fight scene, it felt like the attention to detail there was just much better than I've seen in a lot of the action scenes this season. But I think this episode really captures the essence of what if is supposed to be. You know, this idea that you can take a character like Hela that was just this god of death or goddess of death and destruction, and there was nothing she wanted to do other than just rule over everybody, and ask the question, well, what if she got kind of a same lesson or a similar lesson to what Thor did? This chance to get rid of her powers and look at who she is as a person and what she wants outside of this idea of just ruling everything. And it's a moment of self-reflection for her, and it allows her to grow as a character and become even more powerful than Odin and a better ruler than Odin was. It's a very solid story, and again, it gives me a little bit of hope that maybe this season's going to end on a bit of a high note, and I'll get excited for season 3, which, to be fair, I've not heard good things about season 3, but maybe it's just people overhating on Marvel at the moment. Probably not. But anyways, with that being said, on to the next episode. I'll see you there. And now, episode 8, What If the Avengers Assembled in 1602? So this one was kind of confusing for the most part. I think I get it. It seems like for whatever reason, when Cap hit the time stone, it caused this sort of time rift that combined modern day people with the past, and for some reason that was causing the universe. I don't understand why all of that happened, but it seems like that is the cause of all of it. And so it was just about trying to, I guess, get him back to where he belonged and resetting it for some reason. I don't know. There was a lot of, I guess, just inference that was supposed to be taking place. Like, we're supposed to infer that Cap hitting the time stone is what caused all of this. But I don't know how much that makes sense. I know they don't have a whole lot of time. Obviously, they only have 30 minutes to get through these episodes, but I feel like a little bit more explanation could have been used here to at least help bring us along as well and explain a little bit more about why this caused all of that. Because I realize all of this is science fiction, so it's not going to make sense in our world, but at least make it make sense in this world, because I don't know if it does, if I'm being honest. But overall, I thought it was fine. It was kind of cool to see some of these characters back in olden times and seeing these medieval versions of themselves. I like that. I don't know why. It's something that I always tend to enjoy whenever I see it for superheroes, for any sort of fictional story. Overall, I think the acting in this one felt better as well. The only one that felt off, and I don't know if they just really wanted his character to ham it up, I suppose. Happy in this one was really weird. Everybody else felt kind of normal, felt maybe a little bit different because they are more medieval. I mean, Thor and Loki, I thought, felt a lot more like themselves from the original movies than they have in a while because of that. But yeah, Happy in this one, it was just like he kept talking when he didn't need to. And they did make a joke about it, Hulk telling him to shut his mouth. But I don't understand why. None of what he was saying was funny. The fact that it's the Hulk version of Happy, so I'm guessing the world that was collapsing was the one where he saved Christmas, unless there's another world out there where he got the Hulk serum. But it just also reminded me of that episode and how bad it was. I don't know why. I don't know why they decided to go with Happy with the Hulk serum in this one, because it was really unnecessary. But I think this is a pretty clever setup, having Thor be the one who's kind of in charge, having him basically put Peggy on the run. I will say I did think that whatever Scarlet Witch brought Peggy back for to help out with, I thought that was going to be sort of the setup for the final 2 episodes of this season. So for her to have fixed this problem, but then there's another one that Doctor Strange wants her help with, I'm not really sure what that's going to be about. It feels a little odd that they didn't focus on this idea of maybe these time rifts causing issues across multiple multiverses and stuff. But who knows? Maybe they have a better idea than that, because I was getting in my mind that was sort of going to be the focus, was these time rifts for the final 2. We'll see what happens next. So on to the finale of season 2. I'll see you there. And finally, episode 9, What If Strange Supreme Intervened? I guess it's okay. It wasn't terrible, but there are a lot of issues that I have with it. The first one being this premise of Strange Supreme getting all of these world killers and powerful beings to fuel a forge that is supposed to save his world and bring Christine back. The problem I have is I feel like we kind of already got over this in season 1. I thought it was a nice resolution for him to come to and everything that happened. And yet here we are, and we're going back to it. We're going back to this story, and now he's the bad guy again, which he was kind of the bad guy in his story in season 1, and now here he is doing it all again. But in this time, instead of destroying his own universe, now he's willing to destroy all these others to get his world back. It kind of spits on what he went through in season 1, what he overcame in season 1 to get to where he was. It's like the writer just said, we don't really have any other ideas, so let's just turn him back into a bad guy. I don't like it when stories do that. I don't like it whenever there's character growth and then there's character regression for the sake of, well, we just need an interesting story, so we'll just bring him back. The other problem I have, which is kind of a big one, is this show just sort of neglects how powerful the Infinity Stones are. We saw Thanos used all of them and his whole arm was destroyed, and he's a Titan, and his whole arm is destroyed. Hulk, when he used it, his whole arm is destroyed. Tony, when he used it, he died. And then in this episode, Killmonger uses all of them and he's fine. Peggy uses all of them multiple times. She's fine. Are we just forgetting how powerful these stones are? What, are they weaker in animation form? Like, what is going on? Are we forgetting the power of these stones? We're using one nearly killed Peter Quill, who had the essence of ego inside of him. It still nearly killed him, and it took all of these other people channeling the energy through them to keep him alive. And now all of a sudden one person can use it. Okay, just take your brain out, throw it away, because it doesn't matter anymore. Like, that's dumb. You can find other ways to get Peggy on the same level as Strange. All these people that are falling to their doom into the forge, tossing them, and I'm guessing the only reason she can use their weapons is because they're probably willingly giving them to her, like Thor's hammer or Hela's, what's her thing, the helmet? I don't understand exactly how that works. But that's something that, okay, it kind of makes sense. They're giving her these weapons and letting her use these weapons. That puts her on the same level as Strange. That to me makes more logical sense than her all of a sudden being able to channel the power of 6 Infinity Stones, which no human, even superhuman, should be able to do. I also do feel like the fact that we kind of downgraded from season 1. In season 1, it was all of these stories come together at the end, and they all team up in their own sort of Avenger team to take on this being of Ultron that was trying to destroy all these different universes. And then in this season, it's just Peggy Carter and Kahori going up against Strange, and that's it. It's 2 people against 1 instead of a team against one super powerful being. Like that, to me, is a downgrade. Some people may disagree. Some people may look at it and go, it was really cool to see the 2 of them going up against. In my opinion, it's taking away. We saw a lot of these characters this season. We saw a young Peter Quill manage to overturn Ego and kind of get his own life back. We saw Hela manage to turn her life around. She's nowhere involved in this fight. Like, there were versions of her in these final 2 episodes, but the one that we saw that turned it around, we didn't see her at all in these final 2 for some reason. I did expect to see the Hulk Happy Hogan that we saw from the Christmas one, and yeah, we saw him in the last one, but we saw him as a villain. Didn't show up in this final one to help out. Like, there were so many stories that you're bringing in that I'm assuming we're going to see later. The story with Nebula at the beginning of the season didn't play in at all to the rest of the season. I don't understand. We went from the first season, we got introduced to all these stories, and then they all tied in, and we got to see them at the end. That was cool. And then in this one, we just ignore most of the stories that happened earlier on. The only one that played in more was the story with Kahori, and that's it. I don't know. Does that not feel like we're downgrading from season 1? It feels like we don't want to find a clever way to get all of these characters involved, so we're just not going to. We're just going to bring in this one other character, and that's going to be it. Just to mention a couple of the good things in this episode, because I don't want it to be entirely negative, because I did think the fighting was fun, even though the idea of Peggy using all the Infinity Stones is kind of a dumb idea. It still was cool to see them being utilized, to see all the different characters as well from these different universes. I can't remember all of them, but there were several that you could tell were nice little Easter eggs for anybody maybe who even read the comics. I'm pretty sure I saw like a cowboy Loki in amongst all of those. Don't know what that's all about, but I'm assuming there were several little Easter eggs for people who are comics fans, and I do like some of that, and I feel like this is a good series to bring those ideas in. I don't know where season 3 is going to go. We did see what looked like the tree that Loki created whenever he took control of the timeline at the end of season 2, so I don't know if he's going to play into season 3 at all. I don't know if it's going to be focused on Captain Carter and the Watcher, or if we're still just going to get these random disconnected stories that might connect at the end. But like I said, I haven't heard great things about season 3, so there is a concern that this idea that I have enjoyed so far, it's going to be really falling apart by next season, and we're really going to see where the writers maybe didn't have the overall capacity to take this idea further. Kind of feels like maybe it's getting more and more limited as we go on. But looking back on season 2 as a whole, not as good as season 1. There were a few bright points, but there were quite a few episodes that, in my opinion, didn't quite live up to the standard that I think I've set for this show. And it is disappointing because, like I said, season 1 was a good time, and I was looking forward to the second season. But those are all of my thoughts on these final 3 episodes and on the season as a whole. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Let me know, we can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future What If reviews. Also check out the channel. We have a lot of reviews on there as well as some Let's Plays, so check those out if you have time. But until next time, I hope you guys have a great day. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace out.